I could pretty much leave this stationary. See how nasty that was? That's just the bottom half. You're too big for me. This is a clay bar. When do you use this? How do you use it? Why do you use it? Where do you use it? Who should use it? Let's talk about that. Now, we're not only going to talk about clay bars, but also clay mitts and clay towels. Just for the sake of ease in the video, I'm just going to use one of these because you don't need to use both. It's pretty much the same type of material. There might be little differences here and there in the manufacturing of them. This is the DIY. This is the Suds Lab. Both work really, really well. So for this job, I'm going to use the Suds Lab one because I haven't used this one that much. Well, this is a 2022 Audi e-tron, and it came in for our full detailing service. Now, this was actually ceramic coated by the dealership when it was brand new, when the owner bought it. So we're going to see if the coating is actually holding up, and if it is, and if the paint really isn't that gritty, I might actually forego the claying altogether, which is totally fine to do. You do not need to use a clay bar, clay towel, or mitt every single time you're detailing a vehicle. It's really dependent on what the vehicle needs. Now, you're going to notice in this video, we're going to go through our pre-wash, and if you want to know more about that, I have plenty of videos about our pre-wash. However, I did do a modification to our IK foamer that I love, and I will put a video to the detailer who did this modification because I didn't do a video on it myself because I don't need to. This guy did it really well. So go and watch that video when you're done with this one. But check this out. We have a 25-foot hose on this IK foamer. So now I can pretty much leave this stationary and go around the entire vehicle foaming it without having to move anything. The only con is you got to deal with a longer cord, which means you have to wrap it up when it's done, and you know, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But this is our pre-wash. You know what's in here? Just super clean, diluted 10:1. And this is enough to cut a lot of the grease and grime and road film that's on the paint, and it's gonna prep it. Now, yes, I did mention it's ceramic coated, but it's not in for maintenance. We didn't ceramic coat it. So even if the coating is doing okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going through my process anyway. And I'm probably going to put some sort of a ceramic sealant when I'm done with it. Again, depending on if it needs to be clay barred, might actually have to machine apply something if it did kind of mar the paint up a little bit. Because clay barring, and even using a clay towel or mitt, can leave a little bit of marring on the paint. It just kind of depends. It depends on if it's a mild clay bar or mild towel or mitt, and how soft the paint is on the vehicle, and how aggressive you had to go on the vehicle also. All those things really do come into play. So I'm doing all the bottom portions because really that's the worst, the dirtiest parts of the vehicle. Then we let that dwell for just a little bit. It's overcast, it's not hot out at all. So we can let this dwell on here for maybe a minute, maybe two, until it starts to kind of drag down and not dry in the paint, but you'll see when it's just kind of done its job. And then we just rinse it all off, foam it with our shampoo, which we're going to use just whatever shampoo that we have in there. It doesn't really matter too much. We'll contact wash it, and then we'll show you the actual mechanical deconning, which is using the clay bar, mitt, or towel. In this case, the mitt. Now for the contact wash, we're using the Next Level car shampoo, or the auto shampoo it's called. Now this stuff actually has a lot of good surfactants in it. It cleans really well, but we use our pre-wash to really clean the paint before we do our contact wash. The contact wash is really just going to be a very, very, very thin film of maybe a little bit of traffic film that wasn't completely removed from the pre-wash, but there's no grit. There's nothing crunchy that's going to scratch anything on the paint. That's why we can do this. We can wash a section of the vehicle and then immediately follow up with the clay towel or mitt, or even clay bar. But we use the clay mitt because it has a large surface area and you don't have to knead it.
Wow.
And it just works really, really well. Very fast, very efficient.
It's super slick.
Oh, good. All right. Then we really don't have to go too aggressive. We'll probably still use it for the entire vehicle, but just very, very lightly. And if you use it lightly, you don't have to worry about marring. Clay mitts and towels do not mar the paint as much as clay bars do. Oh man, that feels awesome.
Yeah.
Now here's a tip that I learned from some detailers years ago for clay bars especially. And if you're working in cold weather, use hot water. Put your clay bar in a little cup or measuring cup of hot water, as hot as your hands can take, and this really softens up the clay. It actually will reduce the aggressiveness of it, and it will make it easier to manipulate and fold the clay when you've done a section and it has basically done its job and you need to knead the clay. You can do the same thing with the clay towels and mitts. It's actually better if they are a little bit more malleable, because in cold weather, you know, your clay mitts and your clay bars, they're going to get cold and kind of harden up on you, and you don't want that rubbing against the paint. Now, clay barring, or using, you know, these types of mechanical means to decon, it is not something that you need to do every single time you're washing your vehicle. Now, you're going to see us do it on this channel because, you know, as a business, we're doing pretty gross cars all the time. Cars that have not really been cleaned properly, and that's why they're coming to us. They want them detailed. Now, you can kind of see here on the clay bar, not a ton of contamination. It's not too bad. Just kind of clear the foam a little bit. It's not too bad. That's just the front. And I'm going to knead this clay so I have a fresh side. Just fold it on itself and make sure that whatever side you're folding into and you have exposed here is nice and clean, and then you're ready for the next section. And I can even tell there is a little bit of crunchiness down here. So not in the top, but definitely down in the bottom sections. And you do want to use a shampoo that is slick and has really good lubrication. Most shampoos do, but it is. Yeah, the next level products are really good. Yeah, this one is providing a ton of lubrication. So I can feel and hear the little bits of who knows what, tar, road junk that's kind of stuck onto the paint. And clay barring, again, as I mentioned before, is a little bit more aggressive than using clay mitts or towels. So it'll probably mar up a little bit, which means I might just have to use a dual action polisher to apply a sealant. Oh yeah, there's actually some yellow road paint here as well. There might be some stuff under here that I have to use a tar remover. So if you come across really crunchy stuff and the clay bar just isn't doing it, see how nasty that was? That's just the bottom half of the vehicle. The top sections, not bad. But of course the bottom, it's gonna get way more traffic junk. So paint, tar, all sorts of stuff. So once that side is done, I'm going to fold it in on itself. I don't like to use the other side because then you have two dirty sides. This is just my theory, my way of doing it. I like to fold it in on itself, maybe even a few times, so that everything is trapped inside. And when your clay bar gets really gross, you'll notice, you'll see it changes color. It's time to chuck it and get a new one. This one is starting to get kind of cold and hard. So I'm going to switch it out. I took a full clay bar, cut it in half, and put it in the hot water. I dunked that one in the little cup of water and took out the second piece. So it's a brand new piece, letting that other one warm up. Now I'll go over the worst sections here are these the back part of the bumper where it's a lot of like road paint and tar. I'm just going to use a tar remover. So sometimes you do have to use a chemical to decon the vehicle also, maybe even iron remover. But once the paint is smooth and clean, you don't have to use chemicals to decon. That is not a rule. You don't have to do that. Now, some people may feel that they want to do it to just ensure, just for their own peace of mind, they want to do it, use a chemical decon like iron or tar, spray it over the entire vehicle, wipe it all down, and then in their minds they feel, you know, that they've done their due diligence and did all of their chemical deconning like they should. But in reality, it's not really necessary to do that. You will notice that detail enthusiasts, and maybe those on social media, like to go through all their means of detailing and things that are probably not even needed or necessary, but it's done just for social media's sake. So that's where a lot of confusion comes in and just a lot of misinformation. If you are confused about it or if you have questions, feel free to ask down below, and we'll help you clear up any confusion. Yeah, someone was like, why is your wife spraying inside the car? Yeah, she's spraying inside the car, because that makes sense. Spraying inside the car. Ay, ay, ay. That is why I repeat a lot of stuff, because people only watch one video. Then they're confused. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Oh boy, I've explained that so many times in literally the hundreds of videos that we've done, but maybe you haven't watched those videos yet, because YouTube doesn't like to push those videos. Silly YouTube algorithm is useless. So here is the other side of the vehicle, what the clay bar looked like. So definitely doing some work, picking up a lot of contamination. Now the paint is smooth. Of course, the back end here, the rear bumper, the bottom, this bumper actually goes underneath. It's painted like almost a foot underneath the vehicle. It's gonna get a lot of junk, and it is probably chipped and swirled and scratched like crazy. We're not gonna polish that. That's not what this job is, going to be including. If the customer really wanted that, sure, but then I would suggest PPFing that, because it's black gloss underneath where the wheel is. So you don't have to be overly concerned about trying to get that area perfect, because it's gonna get chewed up over and over and over again. So the vehicle is now washed and deconned, and we are going to hit the door jambs. Sometimes we use a degreaser in here or an all-purpose cleaner if they're gross, but they're not gross. We're just rinsing them out. Now, if you're curious about the gun, the pressure washer gun and the nozzle we're using, I'll have that information down below. This is kind of the tool that enables us to not make a mess in the vehicle. We use it like a blade to get into the door jambs without making excessive mess. And that's about the amount of water that we have in here. You get more water in there by opening the car door in the rain. So So when you're using a pressure washer gun like this and the nozzle, and just experience over time, you really understand how to do the door jambs like that, and it's super fast and very efficient. That is really cool looking. But kind of deceived my eye. I thought it was like junk still on the paint, or on the glass, I should say. But it's not. It's just the way that the glass is tinted and the little droplets reflect that. Now, what about this ceramic coating? Was it coated? I mean, there's some sort of protection on here where it's kind of beading and sheeting a little bit, but on the doors, things are laying very, very flat. And that could be because of the APC that we used, but ceramic coatings, true ceramic coatings, are resistant to high and low pH. So, no, I don't think it was any type of pre-washing that did that. And if it's residue, well, it was washed off with the auto shampoo because we contact washed it. So I'm thinking we are looking at just the ceramic coating not failing, but just kind of running its course, which is fine because now we're going to apply our own protection. Oh, gosh. Ow. Now for wheels, I am going to use an iron decon. This is Rapid Decon from Hybrid Solutions, the Turtle Wax Hybrid Solutions brand. And then Kochchemi Green Star, diluted like 1 to 8-ish, I believe, for tires and wheel wells. Some people clay their wheels, which is fine, if they need it. I've actually seen, and I've done this myself, clay barred the interior barrels, and especially if you're going to apply a ceramic coating. It just gets tar and bits and junk off of the interior of the wheel. That way the coating will bond better. But typically, you know, we don't need to clay bar wheels. Now for wheel protection, I love using spray-on rinse-off products. So we have the Suds Lab ceramic hydrocoat, and I think this stuff is kind of hard to find. I don't know if he is having problems manufacturing it or if it's just selling out, but we'll try to get a link for it if we can find it. You might be able to find it locally at Walmart as well. Amazon and Walmart is where you're going to find this, and it just brings back the beading to the wheels, which is awesome. And protection may be a few months, but this isn't going to be long-lasting protection. It's just kind of a topper or just kind of, you know, sacrificial layer to put on there to make it easier to clean on a regular basis. Now, if you are enjoying videos like this, educational videos, then definitely consider subscribing. And if you already are subscribed, well, could you do me a little favor? YouTube has messed up some things, and they've messed up people's notifications, and I don't think a lot of our subscribers are getting notifications. So if you could, double check, and why not just unsubscribe and resubscribe again, and then click the notification bell, and if you want all of those notifications, then click all. That way, you don't miss stuff. Now, are you curious to see if that clay towel left any marring? I'm curious too. So we'll take the light and see. Remember, this is just our full detail, so we're not doing any polishing on here. However, when we use, like I mentioned before, when we use a dual action polisher, it does lightly polish the paint, and it will get rid of any of that minor marring that's on the paint as well. I love that the whole top is glass.
That is nice.
It's beautiful. So, I mean, whatever coating was used on here, there's still some protection, mostly on the top surfaces. Not a ton, but it is making it easier to dry. So there's definitely something on there. Now let's grab the light and just check something. Are we seeing any marring? Nope. Now down the sides, I'm expecting to see something. Maybe a little bit. No, it's just a reflection. All right, surely there's got to be something. Okay, there we go. Just a little bit. See right there? See the lines? Just a little bit. That does look like it's from the clay bar, or it could just be from their washing. Who knows? I don't know. This is the first time seeing this vehicle, so I have no idea. Down here, look, road paint. See that? And see how, like, road rashed it is right under there? All that, like, grayness. That's not dirtiness, necessarily. It is, yeah, it's road rash. So that paint does need to be removed. I'm going to use maybe some Koch Chemie Ulix or something. Oh, no, I know what I'm going to use. Ulix is awesome stuff, don't get me wrong. But I picked up a ton of this stuff. So this stuff is not as chemically strong, I should say. It's a citrus-based grease and adhesive and tar remover. So it actually does smell better, but it is just as effective. It works really, really well without smelling too strong. So I'll probably just use this stuff. Now, if you're curious about which clay bar we used, this is what we used. Optical fine grade clay bar. It comes with 4, I think these are 100 gram, I believe. 100 gram bars, and I just used one of them that I wrapped back up in the plastic, which it fell out of the plastic, but that's okay. I keep them in here. They will stay for a very, very long time. You could actually put either water or like a quick detailer or a rinseless solution in this bottle here if you take the other clay bars out if you haven't opened them yet, and that'll keep your clay bar lubricated in there so it doesn't stick, because when it dries out it tends to like stick to the little containers. So that's just a tip. I'm not going to do that just now because I have other clay bars in there, but that one will be fine for now. Now for protection, I'm going to use the Hybrid Solutions Graphene to the Max Wax. I haven't used this in a while and I really like this stuff. And then if I need to top it or help wipe it, because this kind of does need like a damp towel sometimes to wipe off the residue, then you could actually use this to aid in wiping off the residue. Now for application, I'm just going to use this little guy. You can use your regular dual action polisher if you want, but this is just a little 8mm cordless, super light and quiet little polisher. It's not really intended for compounding or polishing, just wax and sealant application, and then just a red soft pad. Whatever you have for pads, whether it's a black soft one, a blue, or a black soft pad, whatever it is, just make sure it is like your final finish pad, and that'll be perfect for applying this. I just sprayed the strike on it, let it sit. It softened it up enough where I didn't have to use the razor blade. I just used my thumbnail, just very gently. It comes right off. Once you start picking it, it just comes right off. But it's all chewed up under here. Not really a fan of that, Audi. I would have just used the textured black plastic down here. But, you know, to stay in aesthetics with the rest of it, it's all black plastic. It's all black gloss painted, you know, on all the bottom skirting of the vehicle. Well, the sealant has had plenty of time to sit on the paint. Let's see if wipe off is going to need a damp towel or not, because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the temperature. So if it's hot and humid, yeah, sometimes it takes a damp towel to get all the residue off. Other times in cooler temperatures, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm seeing it might need either a damp towel, or we'll try a secondary towel with the flex wax and see if that makes a difference. Just a spritz of the flex wax and see if that helps. Nah, it probably needs a damp towel. So, you know, with sealants like this, sometimes you just need a little bit of help with a damp towel, or just a spritz of water too. Sometimes adding more sealant is just not really going to aid in wipe off. So a spritz of just regular water, not even distilled, because our water isn't bad here. If yours is, then you probably want to use distilled. Oh wow, oh, that made a big difference. Yep, that's all it needed. Just water. Wow, beautiful. Awesome. Yep, that's all it needs. So a damp towel could work also. What I'll probably do is use this for the final wipe and use the yellow towel to wipe off the residue with a little help with water. I'm just going to mist it onto the panel and use the water on there and the towel, get the initial residue off. Now, Turtle Wax does say that water helps it kind of bond. It kind of locks in the ceramic, or activates, they say, the ceramic. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it definitely helps in wiping it off. And I know back in the day, some detailers used to do this same technique with regular carnauba waxes and synthetic sealants. Maybe not synthetic sealants, but carnauba waxes, because they could be smeary. And they would just use cold water, and I believe they just called it spit shining. And I know that's a shoe polishing term, but they would use that term for wiping off waxes with water, and it would help remove the residue and solidify the wax on the paint too, because if it's too hot, the melting point of the wax, it just kind of stays malleable and soft and doesn't really like harden up on the paint. So that's why these days we do see a lot of hybrid waxes and sealants, because they're mixing other polymers and ingredients to help it bond better and make the melting point higher. Traditional carnauba waxes have a, you know, I guess kind of a low melting point. That's why they don't last long, especially in hot temperatures, is because it kind of melts and evaporates away. So hybrid sealants with carnauba and polymers and ceramic in them, like this stuff, will last much longer because it can resist higher temperatures, and everything bonds better to the paint as well. So yeah, newer technology, awesome for paint protection.